Well, you all have your head downs in the book. And I'll share my screen of Kindle. There we go. Right, I think we're up to number 7. And the section is, number 7 is teaching and healing. Quite enjoyed this little section.
Okay.
Who'd like to read number 7?
I will.
Good on ya.
Anya.
Anya.
Okay.
Hey.
So number 7, yes?
Yes.
The atonement gives you the power of a healed mind, but the power to create is of God. Therefore, those who have been forgiven must devote themselves first to healing, because having received the idea of healing, they must give it to hold it. Crikey. The full power of creation cannot be expressed as long as any of God's ideas is withheld from the kingdom. The joint will of the sonship is the only creator that can create like the Father, because only the complete can think completely, and the thinking of God lacks nothing. Everything you think that is not through the Holy Spirit is lacking. Oh my God.
Jumping in the deep end there.
I reckon. Did anybody at all understand that in any way, shape, or form?
Go on, Wendy. Who's read this 1,500 times? You're our next best expert, I think.
I don't know. Still a student.
Yeah.
No, I gotta tell you, this is so new to me, even though I've read it so many times this time through, that I'm actually kind of struggling with it in a way.
Yeah.
But I do understand that you have to give to have. So you have to give healing in an ideal way at the spiritual level to have it. So I do understand that part.
With that
So
first
if you,
sentence. Oh, sorry.
pardon?
Yes. You go.
Yeah, that, so it says, therefore, those who have been forgiven must devote themselves first to healing, because having received the idea of healing, they must give it to hold it. So the concept of giving and having and that kind of, it happens simultaneously, is that to keep it for yourself, you have to expand on the idea. You have to give it to other people. And that's where the forgiveness comes in to help you do that. Because you can't see someone as bad or someone is sick or someone is attacking you without it coming back at you. So the only thing to do is to be forgiven. You have to give forgiveness to hold it. And,
Okay. Right.
I think Jillian is maybe raising her hand.
Yes, go.
Okay.
I think that part is saying that when someone forgives us, we need to forgive ourselves too, in order to receive the full benefits of that forgiveness. It's in forgiving ourselves that we allow it to be that way.
No, and that's probably why it's so hard to actually forgive sometimes.
My experience, at least, has been that it's easy to forgive others, and forgiving myself was always the harder thing to do for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Might be why I'm having trouble with this section.
Might be why we're doing it today. I do find that there was something that you said in Wendy, that was reminding me that the reason I think we're getting so much out of it, reading it together, is that it's so easy to just read it and accept it. Whereas if we read it and get each other's perspectives, because the sharing is the creation kind of thing. Yeah, sharing is creating. So
I've got to say the language in this is not what I'm used to. And so it really is a decipherment for me and putting it into my own language.
yes, it's taken me, this is probably my fourth attempt to read this book, because I don't have a lot of kind of good connotations or associations with all the kind of God, Jesus and Holy Spirit, that kind of thing. But
Well, I take
yeah.
the God part to be the part of us that is spirit, the part of us that's part of that soul collective. So if we take God as our higher selves and the part of us that is love, then that puts it in a whole different light, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, as Wendy said a few weeks ago as well, it's like just replace it all with love. The power to create is of love, just everything. So it's just so much easier that way.
Yeah.
Once you put that word in there. Yeah. Carly, have you got something you want to add? You got your hand up. I can't see you though, because it's
You're on mute, Dad.
I'm meant to be on mute, don't worry. The atonement gives you the power of healed mind. I love that bit. And then basically the ending, everything you think that is not through the Holy Spirit is lacking. And I love that bit because basically the atonement or Holy Spirit is all we're really aiming for.
yeah.
Which is the kingdom. And then basically give to receive. So giving of that experience or giving in some way of teaching and then receiving full wholeness or completeness. And then there is no lack.
It's a nice little reminder, I think, that one, so that when you're feeling in lack, that it's not of the Holy Spirit, and to let that go, maybe during the day. Oh, just Gillian, I know you've got your hand up, but Jane, hello. I've got to keep scrolling through the people to make sure I don't miss anybody. Gillian, you had your hand up.
I was just going to agree with Carly, actually. The last part about everything you think that is not through the Holy Spirit is lacking says to me, anything less than love is lack. So live from love.
Beautiful. Yeah. Shall we move on? Who wants to read number 8? I don't see anybody jumping at the, oh, good on you, Gillian.
How can you, who are so holy, suffer? All your past, except its beauty, is gone, and nothing is left but a blessing. I have saved all your kindnesses and every loving thought you ever had. I have purified them of the errors that hid their light and kept them for you in their own perfect radiance. They are beyond destruction and beyond guilt. They come from the Holy Spirit within you, and we know what God creates is eternal. You can indeed depart in peace because I have loved you as I loved myself. You go with my blessing and for my blessing. Hold it and share it, that it may always be ours. I place the peace of God in your heart and in your hands to hold and share. The heart is pure to hold it, and the hands are strong to give it. We cannot lose. My judgment is as strong as the wisdom of God, in whose heart and hands we have our being. His quiet children are his blessed sons. The thoughts of God are with you.
Oh, I'm getting teary. That was beautiful.
Wasn't it beautiful? Not the only one.
I love, and the heart is pure to hold it, and the hands are strong to give it. Wow. And it's funny, Gillian has said they can be so hard to read, but that one doesn't really need much interpretation, does it? It just feels really lovely.
Mm.
It's just basically saying that everything you've been through is beautiful. You can see it as what it's given you. It's saying that you are love and that mistakes don't matter, because in their purest intention, you did the best you could and you are perfect. So don't stress the mess ups, you know? Everything comes from that place of love and it lasts forever.
And really,
there's no regret because it's all from love. Give the love that you have within you that comes from God or from love from the collective, and you have it within your power to share it with others. It's one of the kindest things you can do is to share it. And I don't like the word judgment, but it's like love is always with you. I want to show you that love is always with you. You are never alone.
Yeah. Jillian, when they're talking about his judgment, there's only two judgments, love and a call for love in the Holy Spirit. So they're not talking about our judgment. They're talking about it's either love or a call for love.
Oh, I like that. Thank you.
Good clarification.
That's what
Well,
I
as
get.
much I want to sit on that one. I think we've pretty much got it, haven't we?
Yep.
And, yeah, I think I'm going to make a note of that particular one and do something with it, meditate on it or something, because it's just gorgeous. And we're on to the next section. Oops, sorry. I hope I'm not making people dizzy there. The ego's use of guilt. Who wants to read the first section of this?
I could read that one.
Wendy. It's a
I'll
short
always
one.
take this one. Yeah, I'm going to actually try reading it from the book because it's a little easier for me. The computer is just rough. Perhaps some of our concepts will become clearer and more personally meaningful if the ego's use of guilt is clarified. The ego has a purpose, just as the Holy Spirit has. The ego's purpose is fear, because only the fearful can be egotistic. The ego's logic is as impeccable as that of the Holy Spirit, because your mind has the means at its disposal to side with heaven or earth as it elects. But again, remember that both are in you.
I think that clarifies the ego a lot more, because we've been talking about ego all the way through, and it's kind of, you know, there's different kind of associations that we have from ego. But that's really clear. This is going to be a good section, I think. It's really helped to clear up the connection between guilt and fear. And it's still a part of us, so, you know, we can't kill it. We don't want to kill it. Yes, Gillian.
I disagree with this. I'm sorry, I just do. Because the ego is not about fear. It's not emotional. It just wants, your ego is just the part of you that chooses, that wants you to have a better life, that wants you to have the best possible life. The only time it is in fear is when the unconscious mind has programmed it to be so. When the unconscious mind is running that emotional, fearful program, that's when you get the conscious ego that most of us want to kill, you know? But the ego just, without our ego, we can't make any vision real. We can't bring it into this reality. The ego is our essential ally in our manifestation. And I know probably everybody's going to disagree with me, but that's okay. That's
I think you have a valid point. I think the scenario that's playing in my head, Jillian, is that the ego is indeed based on the subconscious, and it's driving the bus of most of our lives. Like, let's say if we said percentages, like 95% of the time, the subconscious, we're not living off of our conscious mind enough. That's the problem, right? So I just think it's unfortunate that the ego is in too much it's just too it's just called upon constantly because it wants to stay alive. And so what better way to stay alive than to keep one fearful of losing, be of lack, fear, deficit. So I don't know. But I like what you said about your point on the ego is well taken as well. It's just that if you're not evolved enough, I think, Linda, you got your hand up. You got something good?
Well, I don't know if it's good, but I've got something.
Of course it is.
So there's a huge chapter to do with ego that I remember going through. So I just gone back to it. It's in chapter 3, the innocent perception, and number 4, error and the ego. Number 3, the ego is the questioning aspect of the post-separation self, which was made rather than created. It is capable of asking questions, but not of perceiving meaningful answers, because these would involve knowledge and cannot be perceived. The mind is therefore confused, because only one-mindedness can be without confusion. A separated or divided mind must be confused. It is necessarily uncertain about what it is. It is to be in conflict because it is out of accord with itself. This makes its aspects strangers. This makes its aspects strangers to each other, and this is the essence of the fear-prone condition in which attack is always possible. You have every reason to feel afraid as you perceive yourself. This is why you cannot escape from fear unless you realize that you did not and could not create yourself. You can never make your misinterpretations true, and your creation is beyond your own error. That is why you must eventually choose to heal the separation. Ta-da!
Thank you. Yeah, because we've done so much
Excellent,
work on
Linda. And that's why you're called Lady Linda.
Love you so much, Jane.
Well done for
Right
finding
back at you, girl.
to revise it. I kind of feel now like the ego, and I understand where you're coming from, Jillian, because we do kind of need the ego to kind of even get out of bed in the morning. But
Yeah.
what I think the ego, for me, when I'm reading it now, the ego is the part of us that is trying to, it could be any part of us. It could be the one who wants to please everybody. It could be the one who wants to step on everybody. It doesn't matter. It's that part that's running the show to the detriment of everything else and causing separation. It's not allowing people when that part, whatever it is, call it ego or something else, it doesn't matter. It's that part that's keeping us separated that we're trying to shift. And that part that's keeping us separated is fearful because it's small and it feels powerless, and it thinks that connecting with other people is going to make us, is going to, you know, destroy us, when in fact it's trying to do the opposite. Wendy.
I thought Kali was, unless you,
I'm losing track because
or
lots of
me.
people, but you're unmuted, so
Oh, I am. Okay, I'm sorry. Just like the word judgment too, I think that the word ego stretches over a lot of definitions. And so I think we're all right. What Jillian's calling the ego and what the book is calling the ego are two different concepts. Like in this book, the judgment of the Holy Spirit is not judgment like in our judgment. It's love, or a call for love. What the book is talking about when it uses the word ego is it's not talking about the self that's experiencing everything like this very moment, and the creativeness of us, which we could use any word to describe. Id, me, I am, you know, the presence of who I am. But I think that when this book, if we take that word and we say, in this book, the word ego is the separated mind, the mind that is not connected in any way, shape, or form to us, who we really are. And I think that that's how I started defining it, so that I took away any other definition. And I said, this is the part of the mind that's not connected. Like you said, the subconscious, the unconscious. That is how this is using this word. So it lets me all the way through. Like when I'm having trouble, I change the word God to love, and it clarifies something for me. So you could take the ego and say the unconscious, or I would use the unconscious. The unconsciousness keeps us in fear. So if every time you said the ego, you would say the unconsciousness keeps us in fear, and my mistaken illusions based on my fear is what causes all this mess. So that's how I work with that word.
thank you.
Problems
Ding,
with
ding,
words.
ding, Wendy.
Yep, the ego is definitely the unconscious mind. Definitely.
Yes. And the idea of this book is to train the mind to come out of unconsciousness, to be able to see things as they are. So we're not blaming and throwing guilt, or not being able to forgive ourselves.
Just feels like the long way around for me, because I already did this.
Yeah, well, some people like the straight route and some people like to walk around the mountain. It all depends.
Yeah.
Carly, don't want to miss you. What did you had your hand up a while ago now?
No, I love what now who was it? Wendy said, and I just know the chapters about the use of your guilt for the ego and the separation. So I liked what you said, V, with lower will, higher will, when you touched on that. So, and I can't remember what I was going to say. And that's what I love about my ego. Just let it go.
Between us, we all get a better perception, and you know, we're not all going to have the same perception, which is why it's all beautiful. Yeah. Cool. That was a good discussion. Shall we move on to number 2? Who wants to read that one? Jane, you're on my screen. Would you like to read it?
Okay. Sure.
Thank
In
you.
heaven, there is no guilt because the kingdom is attained through the atonement, which releases you to create. The word create is appropriate here because once you have made Oh, okay, sorry. It wasn't sounding right to me. Let me go back. The word create is appropriate here because once what you have made is undone by the Holy Spirit, the blessed residue is restored and therefore continues in creation. What is truly blessed is incapable of giving rise to guilt and must give rise to joy. This makes it invulnerable to the ego because its peace is unassailable. It is invulnerable to disruption because it is whole. Guilt is always disruptive. Anything that engenders fear is divisive because it obeys the law of division. If the ego is the symbol of separation, it is also the symbol of guilt. Guilt is more than merely not of God. It is the symbol of attack on God. This is a totally meaningless concept, except to the ego. But do not underestimate the power of the ego's belief in it. This is the belief from which all guilt really stems.
Oof. We haven't really talked about guilt so far, have we? I don't remember
No.
talking about it. The word create is appropriate here because once what you have made is undone by the Holy Spirit. So I guess that's talking about what you haven't made with Spirit. You've made up something which is causing separateness or unhappiness in some way, I guess. Is that what anybody else is reading that in? Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you create from Spirit, from love, the blessed residue is restored and therefore continues in creation.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Gillian?
What I get from this passage is when we know love and fully accept ourselves, know how we express ourselves divinely, and choose that, no one can hurt us and we become unstoppable. There's no room for guilt or fear or the opinions of others because we're just being who we are. We're creating what we want at will and adding to the world and the collective.
Yeah.
Me.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that,
Well-
Carly. Instead of guilt, joy is created. Nice. Yes, Wendy?
Yeah, they just slightly touch on why we feel guilty in this paragraph,
Yeah.
because it's a symbol of attack on God, which is the divine. We think we can actually do that. So it's a symbol that we've attacked God, and that's why we're feeling guilty. Because it says this is the belief from which all guilt really stems, that we think we're guilty for something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because I didn't put out the garbage cans last night.
That really helps, Wendy, because now I can see that on occasions many decades ago, I don't think I do it anymore, but even just thinking about attacking someone or being abusive to someone or anything like that, that feeling, that is guilt. That feeling that's not causing me any joy, that's for sure. And it's not
Mhm.
it's not even going out to the other person because they can't feel it. It's just something I've created for myself that's unhealthy. And again, separate. Yes, guilt is separation. Yeah.
Mhm.
It was heavy, but I think we've gone through that one. Anyone else have any comments on that one? Coralie, you've been so quiet. Can you read number 3?
Go.
The ego is the part of the mind that believes in division. How could part of God detach itself without believing it is attacking him? We spoke before of the authority problem as based on the concept of usurping God's power. The ego believes that this is what you did because it believes that it is you. If you identify with the ego, you must perceive yourself as guilty. Whenever you respond to your ego, you will experience guilt and you will fear punishment. The ego is quite literally a fearful thought. However ridiculous the idea of attacking God may be to the sane mind, never forget that the ego is not sane. It represents a delusional system and speaks for it. Listening to the ego's voice means that you believe it is possible to attack God and that a part of him has been torn away by you. Fear of retaliation from without follows. Because the severity of the guilt is so acute that it must be projected.
Mm.
I keep hearing about that when they say about guilt, should have. It's like guilt is all about what I should have done. There's what I did, and then there's what I should have done. And then I can, sit and punish myself with that as much as I want.
Yes, you can. It's your choice.
Yes.
Hit the nail on the head there, Coralie. That's exactly why I eradicated should from my vocabulary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a low vibration word, that's for sure.
Mm.
Do we need to go over that one anymore? I think we're pretty clear on that one now. Cool. I might read number 4 because I haven't read yet. Just keeping a track of faces. No, all right. Right. Whatever you accept into your mind has reality for you. It is your acceptance of it that makes it real. If you enthrone the ego in your mind, you're allowing it to enter, makes it your reality. This is because the mind is capable of creating reality or making illusions. I said before that you must learn to think with God. To think with him is to think like him. This engenders joy, not guilt, because it is natural.
I'm laughing.
Guilt is a sure sign that your thinking is unnatural. Unnatural thinking will always be attended with guilt because it is the belief in sin. The ego does not perceive sin as a lack of love, but as a positive act of assault. Oh. This is necessary to the ego's survival because as soon as you regard sin as a lack, you will automatically attempt to remedy the situation and you will succeed. The ego regards this as doom, but you must learn to regard it as freedom. That was a tough one to read.
Mm.
What were you saying, Jane? Somewhere in there?
Oh, no, nothing. I just kind of meandering thoughts here.
It's reminding me of a CD I'm re-listening to of Wayne Dyer's Excuses Be Gone. And he's going through in a seminar situation with several people and asking them questions about what they feel that they don't, what they, one lady's overweight, and he's saying, so to lose the weight, will this be easy or difficult? And it's like, neither of these things is true. So you get to choose which one you want. You get to choose which thought you have. So, because none of them is true.
So powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is when you think of it like that. And just to think of anything that we say that's like, I can't do that. It's like, really? Why not?
Mm.
Right.
Is it true?
Yes.
Is it true?
Mm-hmm.
Basically saying that we make everything up. If we make it up from fear, it's going to suck. If we make it up from love, it's going to be awesome. So it may as well be awesome.
Absolutely. We get to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your comment there, Carly? Believe I am more powerful than Holy Spirit.
That's the ego. Ego believes it's more powerful
Yeah.
in the situation of whatever it's chosen that then creates separation or guilt. It believed it was more powerful than the Holy Spirit.
No, it even says it there. The Holy Spirit, like the ego, is a decision. The Holy Spirit and the ego are the only choices open to you. Beautiful. We done with that one?
Mhm.
Number 7. Who wants to read number 7? It's a big one. Who hasn't read? Gillian, have you read yet? Yes, you have, haven't you? Carly, good on you. Go.
Isn't it number 5?
Yeah, which one is
Didn't you just read number 4, Coralie?
Did I?
8, 6.
Sorry. What did I read? I scrolled the screen up, which is a problem.
7. Yeah.
What are we up to?
Up to 5.
5? Okay.
okay. The guiltless mind cannot suffer. Being sane, the mind heals the body because it has been healed. The sane mind cannot conceive of illness because it cannot conceive of attacking anyone or anything. I said before that illness is a form of magic. It might be better to say that it is a form of magical solution. The ego believes that by punishing itself, it will mitigate the punishment of God. Yet even in this, it is arrogant. It attributes to God a punishing intent and then takes this intent as its own prerogative. It tries to usurp all the functions of God as it perceives them because it recognizes that only total allegiance can be trusted. To me, this comes back to what Gillian's been saying the whole time about love. Because when our mind is healed, it is in just pure love's potential, and it can't conceive any need to attack or anyone or anything.
Beautiful. Do we need to say anything more on that, or shall we go to number 6?
I think when we punish ourselves with illness, that's that's showing us that there's part of us that believes we're not worthy of love.
Exactly.
And when we can act as a whole being, those things don't happen
Mm-hmm.
because we are perfect. Even if our behavior is not perfect, we are perfect. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there's no need for that sort of thing. It just doesn't happen because we are
Right.
love. And illness is not love.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of what's so tough about it, though, isn't it? If you're feeling sick, then you're like, oh, this is because you make all these judgments on yourself that, you know, cause you to.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
a fine line being kind to yourself sometimes.
Yes, it is. To be
Sometimes,
kind.
sometimes the awareness of knowing what's going on, understanding it, you can go, well, okay, thank you for making me aware. I choose to be kind to myself and love myself even more now so that this can be integrated.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. I'm a bit confused by that last sentence though, because it tries to usurp all the functions of God as it perceives them, because it recognizes that only total allegiance can be trusted. What is total allegiance of what?
I think
guess
it's
kind of a term. Yes, Gillian.
I think it's saying that it's recognizing that coming from wholeness is the only way forward, but it wants to be the unconscious mind wants to be the whole being on its own to the exclusion of all else.
Yeah, okay.
Hmm.
Thanks. Who wants to read number 6? I think we've all had a read now. Should we go back to the beginning? Linda, do you want to read number 6? Or
Has
Yeah.
Joe had a read?
Yeah,
Yes,
Joe has read.
Joe's right. I'm driving.
Oh, he's driving.
Green on. Yeah. He has robotics on Tuesday evening, so he just listens in, and if he gets home in time, he'll pipe up at the end.
Okay, so number 6.
Yeah.
The ego cannot oppose the laws of God any more than you can, but it can interpret them according to what it wants, just as you can. That is why the question, what do you want, must be answered. You are answering it every minute and every second, and each moment of decision is a judgment that is anything but ineffectual. Its effects will follow automatically until the decision is changed. Remember, though, that the alternatives themselves are unalterable. The Holy Spirit, like the ego, is a decision. Together, they constitute all the alternatives the mind can accept and obey. The Holy Spirit and the ego are the only choices open to you. God created one, and so you cannot eradicate it. You made the other, and so you can. Only what God creates is irreversible and unchangeable. What you made can always be changed, because when you do not think like God, you are not really thinking at all. Delusional ideas are not real thoughts, although you can believe in them, but you are wrong. The function of thought comes from God and is in God. As part of his thought, you cannot think apart from him. Well, that's telling us, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know that I've seen it in here that where it says literally, but you are wrong. I don't know that I've seen that.
Mm. Gillian.
I would say that
Well,
this is we can choose anything at any time. We can always choose something different, no matter what we've chosen in the past.
Mm.
When we choose against our divine purpose, we're going to get shit.
Mm.
And when we choose in line with our purpose, we can have what we want. I'm just leaving the whole "you're wrong and you cannot" part out of it, because that's not cool.
I love that, Gillian. And I also get that we can make our choice. We can choose that wrong thing, find out it's wrong, but instantly change it to the new choice whenever we want.
Yes.
Instant.
Yep. Definitely.
Does anyone else kind of ask, like, what do you want? Like, that is such a big question, really. And how often do we actually ask ourselves that question? Or is it just, because this is what happens with me. I forget about what I actually want, and I know what I need to do for the day. I know what my task is for the day, and I just go ahead and do what needs doing. But what do I want? It's a big question, Gillian.
It is a question.
Oh, I'm
It's a
gonna go
great
get Kath.
question.
I know exactly what I want. And
Yeah.
if I didn't know what I want, I created a hell of a lot of shit. I created so many obstacles and so much pain and suffering. It was almost unsurvivable, you know? But since I know what I want, I've created a vision. I've integrated what's in the way of it, and now I'm just taking action for it to happen. So it's inevitable. It's happening now.
Beautiful.
That's how I live at the beach.
Yeah. Kasha.
Hey, Kasha.
Hey, Kesha.
Oh, she's frozen now.
Yeah.
It's a nice picture to be frozen on. She's got a big smile on her face. Wendy.
I'm so glad
know-
to see you all, and I'm so
Oh, the-
glad to see Jillian.
Good to see you.
Because I don't know what you read before I joined, then that's all what I wanted to say. But I'm happy to be here even for those few
Oh,
minutes
good
that
on you.
they left in.
Wendy.
You know, I take I when I hear "but you are wrong," when it says delusional ideas are not real thoughts, although you can believe in them, but you are wrong. To me, I read that as a power statement. Like, I can make another choice, and it's okay to make another choice at that point, because it's like, I don't take it to heart that it's saying you are wrong. I just really read it as it's a mistake, and you can just turn tail and do something else, because you can just let that go. And I really feel empowered in my heart with that, instead of feeling like I have to hold on to all that bric-a-brac. I could just, take it to the dumpster and keep going forward. Maybe I don't even have to take it to the dumpster. I could just leave it where it is.
Create a piece of art with it. Create.
Yes, exactly.
I think, can we squeeze in one more? What do you think?
It's a biggie.
Yep. All right. She goes, yes, all right. I'll read this one. Irrational thought is disordered thought. God himself orders your thought because your thought was created by him. Guilt feelings are always a sign that you do not know this. They also show that you believe you can think apart from God and want to. Every disordered thought is attended by guilt at inception and maintained by guilt in its continuance. Guilt is inescapable by those who believe they order their own thoughts and must therefore obey their dictates. This makes them feel responsible for their errors without recognizing that by accepting this responsibility, they are reacting irresponsibly. If the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself and assure you that it is, and I assure you that it is, then the responsibility for what is atoned for cannot be yours. The dilemma cannot be resolved except by accepting the solution of undoing. You would be responsible for the effects of all your wrong thinking if it would not be undone. The purpose of the atonement is to save the past in purified form only. If you accept the remedy for disordered thought, a remedy whose efficacy is beyond doubt, how can its symptoms remain? Andy, what a question.
So is it saying that you don't need to feel guilt because that's in the past, and since that's been purified, it's not a thing anymore?
You're feeling to always on you don't notice.
Wendy has her hand up.
Yeah, but I think everybody was thinking, so I was just pausing for a moment.
Carly, yeah, go ahead. Have you got some clarity for Coralie's question?
Yeah, I just
What-
forgot what that was. Anyways, whatever Coralie said, I totally agreed, but now I've forgotten what it was. So I will have to pass it on to the next person. It was about guilt and the past is over. And so there is no guilt, because if I'm holding guilt, I'm holding myself hostage for my choices of the past, that God, if I allowed them to be atoned, my sins to be atoned, I'm not actually no longer responsible for. I've given them to God and they no longer exist, and they've come into purity. So basically, I've let go and let God, with grand design, take care of what my illusion of my ego thought I had to hold on to because I'm responsible for and guilty for, and I'm not, because it's the past.
Does that help, Carly?
Yeah. So yes.
Gillian?
I think this one's saying that humans have a tendency to overthink things and to allow things to run in our heads over and over. What if this? What if that? What if something else? So that is, I think that's the disorder he's talking about, when we overthink things and go over and over them. And that's where guilt comes from, because we're always overthinking. And instead of that, we can just allow the love to come through, understand that we're doing the best we can with what we have, and that our behavior doesn't have to be perfect for us to be perfect, and live from love, and that we all make mistakes, and it's totally okay. Doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
You did the best you could. Okay, maybe you would have preferred not to make that mistake, but it's done. You can't take it back, so why worry about it?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Wendy?
Yeah, I love this, and I think this is going to be my sentence for today. If you accept the remedy for disordered thoughts, a remedy whose efficiency or I can't read that word is beyond doubt. Efficacy, I don't know. How can its symptoms remain? And it reminded me, what came into my mind is the other day, I had a rough dream. I woke up with a sore neck and I was starting to get a headache. So I sat down and I did some deep breathing and I kind of got into meditation. And I said, I know this is because I thought what I was dreaming was real. And I woke up upset and stressed. And I said, and it really never happened. So I kind of got into a prayer of gratitude on the rest of my body where it actually didn't hurt. I had no pain in my leg. I had no pain in my arm. And I was having extreme gratitude for how well the rest of me felt. And very slowly, the headache went away and the pain actually it went away like, poof, gone. But I didn't spend the rest of the day talking about it with anybody. Actually, this is the only time I've brought it up because it's relevant. I didn't talk about the disordered thoughts anymore. So it even says, how can symptoms remain? They didn't remain. I left that moment behind me and I didn't think of it again because it was in the past the moment I got up even from the couch, and 5 seconds after that, and so on and so forth, it was just gone. I didn't go back and look. We have a tendency when we've made mistakes, and even if we made up for them, to remember we did that constantly and doubt ourselves that we could go on without making a mistake. That's egoic. What we're saying, we can't learn. We don't have the power to look at that and say, you know what, that was a mistaken thought, and move on from that. You don't have to have the symptoms or carry it to the next 10 years, which I have managed to carry some really good stuff from when I was like 7. I'm like, why am I carrying that baggage from when I'm 7? I was only 7. I'm 57 years old. I would never tattle on my brother again. But we carry that, and it makes us unwell and upset and guilty, and we lose our voice because we think we're going to hurt somebody because we're carrying that old headache from 50 years ago. So this is my sentence for today.
Beautiful. Okay. Kasia, is a quick one?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Wendy said. I really like her share because with the way how I work with my experiences. Thank you, Jillian, for that. You know what I'm talking about, and I like that. It's sometimes we need to use the technique of not giving consent to the certain things, but also that not giving attention to the headache in Wendy's story is like not giving attention to the child who's throwing the tantrum and doing something kind of crazy, and you just you find another direction, you focus another distance, so that the child, which is the headache in that case, it can make a decision. Oh my gosh, this is not working no more, so let me stop the headache, let me stop throwing the tantrum. I love it. Thank you so much, Wendy. That's another approach that I'm going to be using every day. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Sure.
Thanks, Kasia. Right, it's after 10, so have we got any little final statements or words from what we've read today? Jillian, I'm not sure that you know what we do here, but we're just like taking a lesson from the hour that we've had together. It could be something out of the book or something someone said, or just a thought that you've had that's kind of summarized and what you want to take away and use for the day or the week. Shall we catch up again?
In
Carly?
my current perception, what do I want?
Beautiful. What have you got, Linda?
To think with him is to think like him.
Beautiful. Wendy? You're muted.
There's people. I'm going to go with the remedy is so, whatever that word is, beyond doubt. We'll leave that we can just trust in our higher self to give us the remedy that we're needing, and to have trust in that.
Kasia? You got your hand up, Steve?
Since that was it. No, that was a brand new hand up. And just based on what Carly has chosen, what do I want? I would like to translate it to my version, and I am going to be focused more often. I will be more conscious on what I'm choosing, because my choices are my wants. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Jillian?
I guess what I would say is just lovely to see everybody again and be in this energy.
Thanks for
It's
coming.
great to see you again, Jillian.
Joe, can you talk at the moment?
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh, cool. So have you got
I
anything you want
place-
to leave us with?
Yes. I place the peace of God in your heart and in your hands to hold and to share.
Beautiful. Oh, mine was quite similar. The heart is pure to hold and the hands are strong to give it. That was my favorite from the beginning.
Yeah, that's where this came from.
Yeah, and you've
The 8th, line 10.
you've expanded on it beautifully. Thanks for that. Thanks everybody, and hopefully we'll see you all next week. And Gary will be back on board with us. Have a great week.
Have a
Thanks,
great
Mike.
week, everyone.
Bye.
Love you guys.